Howdy guys, Jimmy Song here. In this video, I'm going to talk about something a little different. I'm going to talk about why I am skeptical of academics. Three reasons in particular. I mean, it's a little bit ironic because I am teaching at the University of Texas currently, and I am teaching a course on Bitcoin, of course, and I'm teaching like 57 grad students on this stuff, and it's a nice gig, and I like teaching, and it's a lot of fun. So in a sense, I'm part of the regime, right? In being an academic, I guess. Although I'm more a lecturer and less a researcher. That said, I wanna point out some reasons why I am skeptical of academics. Reason number one, and this is due to the incentive structure that academics have. Currently, if you want to be in a tenure track position, or if you are a tenured professor, the thing that you need to do more than anything is to publish in research journals. And that is the main incentive that is there in order to have a prestigious academic position. That means that you are going to have something to say that is worth saying. Even if you don't have something that is worth saying, you might make up stuff to say. So the incentives are all wrong, right? Like you might publish 4 papers, 3 of which don't actually, are fudged numbers and things like that. And a lot of academics have been known to fudge their numbers or skew their results so that they can say something interesting, because the data that they often have is completely noisy. And in order to make their particular research seem worthwhile or grant worthy or whatever, they tend to fudge numbers. So that by itself, the incentives are just completely wrong. Second reason I'm skeptical of academics is because they tend to focus on things that are measurable and not necessarily reality as it is. And if you look at almost all the literature on like nutrition, for example, they almost always focus on calories and cholesterol. Oh, those two things happen to be things that are very easy to measure. Calories are very easy to measure in food because you just burn it and figure out how much energy it gives off. And that's like a rough approximation of how much your body can get energy out of those things. Never mind that you might not have the biological pathways to extract that energy from that thing. And cholesterol is another one. They've placed an enormous amount of importance on it, largely because it was so easily measurable. And for a long time they said high cholesterol means bad things, and if you eat a high-fat diet or eat a lot of cholesterol, then you will also have lots of cholesterol. And these are all things that are easily measurable, but you look at the actual studies, and look at the people that have closely examined this stuff, and it turns out that it has a lot of the problems from before, which is that they are trying to add significance to random noise, and that's kind of what happens a lot of times in academia, is that they place importance on things not because they are actually important, but because they are easy to measure. And that's a terrible, terrible way to figure something out, right? Like that's not the pursuit of truth, that's a pursuit of prestige. And that is another reason that I am very skeptical of academics. And lastly, the reason I am most skeptical of academics is because they almost always do everything in theory and have very little practical experience. Theory works great in theory. Theory does not work very well in practice. Oftentimes when you are met by the cold hard slap of reality, things tend to be a lot harder than they look. And this is one of the things that you have to be very cognizant of when you are producing research or whatever. Oftentimes they'll come up with some procedure that is like completely impractical. And like this happens even in the Bitcoin industry quite often. There's a class of coins called professor coins for a reason, right? Like a professor says this and this will work because I've worked out all of the kinks of this, and this. Never mind that they're creating 7 other problems, and there's a reason why certain things were a certain way, and that you can't just change everything whole hog. So that's there's something about meeting reality that hardens and adds wisdom to something in a non-obvious way. And academics in particular are susceptible to not recognizing that. They only see things that are easily conveyable, communicatable, measurable, something that they can publish into a research paper or something like that, instead of a lot of the intuitive judgments that you end up making that make things work on a practical basis, that you can't necessarily explain. It's just sort of like rules of thumb or heuristics or something like that, which end up working a lot better than they do in theory. And these are the things that that make entrepreneurialism just so exciting and interesting, and what I would call street smarts, right? Like it allows people to figure out gaps in the market without necessarily knowing exactly the reason why, but having enough of an instinct for what does work to work it out. Anyway, these are the reasons why I'm skeptical of academics and why I don't necessarily pay attention very much to them, and why I don't think you should either. I mean, there is good research coming out of certain quarters, but again, you have to be very cognizant of whether or not they are just measuring things for the sake of prestige, whether they're under the right incentive structures, and so on. So hopefully that helps you. This song is done.